Welcome to West Virginia Beer Roads, a podcast all about beer from a West Virginia perspective. I'm Erin McCoy, here with my podcast partner, Charles Bachway.
You know, one of the wonderful things about our craft beer universe are all the different bars and restaurants that are now selling craft beer. But they're not all created equal. You know, some are a whole lot better than others. And so we're very fortunate today on the program to have as our guest, Ben Burton, who is the co-owner of one of the best craft beer bars in the Charleston-Huntington market. That's the Pallet Bar in Teays Valley. And Ben, we're joined today. I'm here with Erin McCoy, and of course, Erin is my co-host on the West Virginia Beer Roads. And then we have Lynette Stewart with us, who is the president of our local beer club, the Craze Group here in Charleston, West Virginia. And so we'll all be involved in the questioning as we go along.
Hey, thank you, everyone. Charles, Erin, Lynette.
Yeah, no, for those of our viewers and listeners here to our podcast that aren't that familiar with the Pallet Bar, why don't you give us a little nutshell view of, you know, your business model and like what are the main features that you think make the Pallet Bar stand out?
Sure. So about 2 years ago, three of us had an idea about opening a craft beer bar in West Virginia, just based upon our love of beer and everything that we had done out of state. And we felt like the area was really missing for something that was purely a craft beer bar, I'm sorry. So we got our heads together and we were sitting around our kitchen table in December of 2018 and said, all right, we're going to do it. So the process from finding a location, permitting, licensing to final build out took about 6 months. So we opened June 1st, 2019. We have 24 rotating taps. 2 of those taps are nitro. We have 3 coolers with stocked full of beer of approximately about 100 different beers in the coolers. Cans, bottles, anything that you can get, we try to stock in many different styles. So we are we do growler fills, we do crowler fills. We try to service everything that we could think of.
Excellent. You know, and you're located there in Teays Valley, right? I mean, like near the Teays Valley, what, like a half a mile off the Teays Valley exit? Is that?
Yeah, we're about a half a mile off the exit, right on the main drag of 34. There's a stoplight and you can see us from the stoplight. So it's a convenient location. We're 20 miles from Charleston, probably 25 miles from Huntington. So we're midway in between.
We're 7 months into this COVID pandemic, and it's wreaked havoc on many bars and restaurants in our region and elsewhere, of course. We've all heard about the restrictions that are placed on bar operations because of all of this, and many people just are not comfortable being inside. So tell me what you're doing to try to keep customers coming to the Pallet Bar during the pandemic, especially those that aren't comfortable being inside.
Yeah, so it's been really tough. You know, we had plans. The state actually shut us down on March 17th for, sitting down in the bar. We sell food, so we could do takeout at that point moving forward. So actually, St. Patrick's Day was the last day we were open for a while to do in bar drinking. So, right. Unfortunately, our bartenders, staff make most of their money off of tips. So, nobody knew how long we would be closed. So, right off the bat, we met and we talked to staff and said, hey, we've got to let you guys go right now because we don't know when we can open back up. And, all the staff was great with that and they understood the situation. And, the ABC, it was kind of, you had to figure out what we were going to do for a while. Nobody really knew. Nobody had ever dealt with this. So we consulted with a few folks. Got some ideas of what we were going to do. And the 3 owners and spouses, we worked it when we were closed the whole time. So, what saved us was the growler station, being able to do crowlers. We have a crowler machine, which we thought that was a great thing to do in West Virginia when we got it, because we would go out of state and see all these crowlers, and really it was a missed market, we felt like. So we immediately went out and bought a bunch of bottles and cans, and with the idea of, well, we're going to be here, let's see what people are going to do. So we would have customers come in on Tuesdays and say, hey, I'm buying everything for the week, we'll see you next week. Well, luckily for us, I think day drinking went up like 100% in the pandemic.
Yeah, like day drinking, that's gotten quite a bit of publicity.
So, it went from our customers seeing us Tuesday saying, we'll see you next week, to Friday or Saturday, them coming back in and saying, hey, I'm out, how are we dealing with this stuff?
Right.
So, we thoroughly sanitized each and every customer that came in there. We would disinfect and clean. We cleaned everything we could. We were just so worried about, okay, we don't want to be a place that's an example. So we got to the forefront and immediately started sanitizing and disinfecting, and just stepped up everything we've done. We couldn't have anybody in there to sit and drink. So it was all to-go sales. The food,
Right.
State opened up some delivery, and we did that for a while. And then eventually, they opened us back up at 50% occupancy.
Right. You don't really, there's no ability for you to have any outdoor seating in order to try to attract some customers before that restriction was lifted, correct?
Right. We had some plans to figure out if we could do some outdoor seating.
But for now, you don't have it.
Yeah, for now we don't. Back in January, we had to do our first year, so we didn't really know what to expect, and we talked about, hey, can we open up some outdoor? But with this going on, it was like, well, gosh, we don't know if we're going to be open, closed, what's going on.
Well, staying on that issue, and obviously still with the pandemic and the restrictions, how has that, or did it affect your supply as far as beer coming in? As you said, you had a lot more people coming in and kind of stocking up and filling up their growlers and crowlers. Did you have any issues with your beer supply as far as getting draft or cans or bottles to be able to sell people?
We primarily focus on West Virginia breweries. I think I looked right now, and 22 out of 24 of our taps are West Virginia breweries. So we make that a strong effort, that why buy beer from out of state when the beer that we're making in state is better than a lot of those. So, initially we did run into some difficulties with drafts because a lot of the breweries went to canning.
Right.
So we stocked up on cans, and we always had cans and bottles. So there was never a supply issue for us, because primarily we were getting it from our local guys, and they saved us. The out of shipping to West Virginia, but all these local guys just tuned up their canning lines and saved us.
Well, that's good. You didn't have any issues. And a little earlier, and I know I mentioned it in my question, but we talked about the restrictions that were imposed with regulatory changes concerning alcohol sales that come about because of COVID. Were you involved with that at all, or trying to help influence the regulatory changes that did come about?
I wasn't. I did consult a little bit with some folks to figure out what we could do, what we couldn't do. I spoke with Chuck Johnson, who wrote the legislation on the growlers, because we didn't know, exactly what we're going to be able to do with those. So that has been an issue, truthfully. There's not been a whole lot of guidance for us. I guess it's under the governor's executive order, but the ABC hasn't really done a whole lot in formal guidance.
Right.
So that's been an issue, and we want to do things right, but we want somebody to tell us how to do things. Right. I don't want to do something wrong and it be because something wasn't communicated to us. So there's a lot of local guys that are great sources in telling us what to do. And we err on the side of caution. If there's any question at all, we just don't do it. I mean, we're just not going to.
Okay, Ben. since the Pallet Bar specializes in selling beer from West Virginia breweries, I'm wondering if you would talk about the changes you've seen in the market since you first opened, maybe what the breweries are making or what customers are ordering.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is a national trend, but really this summer, I think the sour market in West Virginia has exploded. With Sam down at Weathered Ground, and that Bear of Fruit series has really been a hit with folks that come into the bar. Everyone wants to try one of those new styles. Short Story did the Fun with Prism series, and those have been amazing. Stump Down has done the Smoothie series, and everyone that they make has been, just great. The Peddler has been making great sours, and that's really something that we've turned on to our customers that come in, that I don't truly think they're craft beer drinkers, but anything as a fruited sour is lighter on their palates. And anything we put on tap that's a fruited sour just flies and goes crazy.
Okay. I know your original concept, you didn't feature food service. How has your thinking on that subject changed? What are the pluses and minuses of where you're doing the food trucks now?
Well, we do have food service. We don't have a full kitchen, so we do things with air fryers. So we do wings, pierogies, tater tots. We do basically appetizers to kind of cope with this pandemic and having people that weren't comfortable being inside. We got together and started searching out all the food trucks that we could. And, all three of you guys have been out of state, and you've seen these breweries that have a different food truck every weekend just pulled up outside. And I always thought that was a great idea. There's not a lot of variety in West Virginia, but it's taken off, and especially due to the pandemic. So we've tried to do a food truck every Saturday to get people in to have quality food. And then that gets them in front of the bar. And while they're there, say, hey, I'm going to come in, get a growler to go. I'm going to have a beer while I wait on my food. So that's really helped us out. We had a lot of events that we were going to plan this summer, and really the food trucks is the only thing that we can do right now.
Well, Ben, I'm kind of interested in how you personally got interested in craft beer and all the varieties of beer. I mean, I know you've had thought a lot about it, like you said, when you guys were planning the thing. But did you start it in home brewing or just drinking?
No, I'm purely a drinker. We fair minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think most of us at this table are too.
I got a homebrew kit for Christmas last year, and I've made one batch, and it was pretty good. But I'm mostly a drinker. So, several years ago, one of our co-owners, Shane Richardson, he was the guy between all three of us that would get us to branch out and try different things. And, Shane is really the reason that we, Jamin and I broadened our taste. It's funny how my palate has changed over the past couple of years, even.
Yeah, I'd like that if you could maybe tell us a little about where you started and how it's progressed and your preferences in beer styles and things.
Yeah, so initially, I went the IPA route and just tried some different things. And, when I started, it was really all West Coast. So, drinking the Bitter Boys was initially what I was introduced to. So once I drank those and felt that, we kind of like those, this haze craze has come across the nation and all these breweries. So, if you started on something else than hazy IPAs, you probably are a real craft beer drinker. Some folks don't really like the bitter guys, but, these West Coast styles that we're getting in West Virginia breweries are great. I can say 2 years ago, even maybe a year and a half ago, I wasn't a fan of a Saison, and now I can't get enough of them. I really can't. And it's been great in West Virginia to have some quality Saisons made.
Excuse me. You mentioned a few of the breweries that were making good sours, kettle sours, and fruited kettle sours. who do you think's making the good saisons and farmhouse ales now?
Oh gosh, it's got to be Sam and Weather Ground down there. You know, if you haven't had a hop farm and minor in the past, that's such a great saison. We actually got one in today that he just made that I'm really wanting to try, called El Dorado Saison. His farmhouse ales have just been delicious. I went down and about a month ago when he had the banana pepper saison on, I went down and had that, and it was just, there's not a better saison brewery in West Virginia right now than Weather Ground.
Well, that kind of leads me into, I think you brought a beer that you're going to taste with us. You're going to open it up and tell us about it. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's a Saison.
Yeah. It's amazing how that worked. The beer I chose is actually the TimBukSue that they just came out with in the past couple of weeks.
Hold that label up a little closer to the camera there so people can see that beer label.
About that.
Nice.
The artwork in the whole state has been phenomenal. And I think you guys, touched on that here recently with the explosion of the different artists and all the can art in the state. And, truthfully, a lot of folks that come in the bar, they're buying cans off of art. So, these crazy designs that we have, people just love. So
I know the TimBukSue beer, and when you taste it, you're going to tell us how it tastes. But I know it was made with some local ingredients, malt from North Carolina, from Riverbend Malt House, and also strawberries from Tim and Sue's farm, which is where they got the name TimBukSue. Tim and Sue Ward, I think it was.
Yeah. So they, initially he put this in red wine barrels and fermented it the first time. And then he actually added 100 pounds of strawberries and let it ferment a second time. And then he actually, at that point bottled it, and it fermented in the bottles for the third time. So at the bar, we have it on draft and we have it on bottle. And
yeah, that's a real traditional style then, to ferment in a barrel, and then also to do bottle conditioning and let it again re-ferment in the bottle and all, plus add the fruit and ferment there too. That's crazy. You'd think it might be a big ABV beer, but it's not.
It's not. It's real light. It's crisp, and it's amazing the strawberry flavor that you get through. It still has that saison style. To me, I still get a little bit of pepper on the back end, but it's the strawberry that's really up front.
Lots of strawberry.
Yeah, lots and lots of strawberry. And this is the best saison I've had this year in the state by far.
Wow. That's quite an endorsement, because you get to try them all at the bar, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's a perk.
Yeah, so that you were mentioning that label art. The artist I saw was Jason Lockhart, and I'm not familiar with Jason Lockhart, but it's the website is kidinthebackground.com. Kidinthebackground.com. But anyway, it's great to see not only local ingredients from the farm, from the Ward's farm there, the strawberries in this beer, but also to see a local artist, making the label. That's something that they do well right down there at Weather Ground, right?
They're out of Beckley, and we actually use them to design our Crowler label and then the latest line of shirts. So,
so you know them?
Yeah.
Wow.
They do great work, and they do a lot of the Barrow Fruit labels. Is by Jason.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's a 6% ABV, sold in 500 milliliter bottles, and it's available. It had been available around the Charleston Huntington market a little. I guess you still have some at the bar, I hope.
We do, and we actually have it on draft also.
Oh, nice.
Oh, man.
Very nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to go ahead.
So the draft is a little different taste. It's kind of weird. We compared them the other night, and you know, we had some bottles and then we did some draft tastings of it. So I prefer the bottles, but some folks actually preferred the draft.
Interesting. Yeah, that would be different because if you have a bottle conditioned beer, it usually makes a difference in the flavor. Should.
Right.
Hey, and I wanted to throw in a couple of other mentions since we're talking about Weathered Ground, a couple other there fairly new beers or new released beers that are old beers that have come back. Kashmir IPA. I know he reformulated that one a little bit with the hopping. Then he has the new batch of Cool Ridge Lager and also out in cans in Cool Ridge Lager. We've got Smolder Bock came back, a beer that he did with some smoked amber malts. And then that Enniskillen Irish Dry Stout is back out in cans as well. I imagine a lot of those you do carry or get from time to time at the Pallet Bar, don't you, Ben?
Yeah, we just got a delivery today. We also got a delivery of their new IPA, Thespian Espionage. And
that must be a special one.
That's a cool name.
Yeah. And I think I talked to Sam, it's Sabro and Talus hops. So I can't wait to taste that one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I wonder, are you able to get occasionally any of their little small batch beers? I mean, I know they started making them again. I saw that on their Facebook page.
I think they're 10 gallon. I've been going down and trying them just because.
Yeah, I do too. I like those.
But yeah, he's kept those tap room only.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, I guess that kind of. Anybody else have a question for Ben? More you want to know? I mean, well, Ben, thanks a lot for coming on and talking about the Pallet Bar and all the great things you guys are doing in Taze Valley, and all the wonderful beers, and especially your commitment to West Virginia beer. I mean, we all appreciate that. So.
We do. And thank you for your time tonight.
Sure. Thank you all.
Okay. We'll talk to you later. Hopefully see you at the bar. But
Cheers, everyone.
Yeah.
Cheers.
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 Okay, we're back out here on Aaron's back porch. Kind of
raining,
and it's raining here in South Charleston, West Virginia. But it was great, kind of a makeshift since my house fell apart and my location fell apart and we had to move. So here we are on the second part of our West Virginia Beer Roads program today, and we're going to move into a little tasting of some fairly new and different West Virginia made beers. And I'm going to turn it over to Aaron. So Aaron, my co-host, take it away.
First off, we have the Peddler. Basics of this Helles-Ween, as they have called it. There's German Pilsner with a couple Munich malts. It's got Omega yeast, Kveik, which is probably wrong, but I'm trying.
Well, that is let's talk about that yeast, because that's a very unusual yeast. They found it in Norway, or that's what certain old breweries in Norway brew with.
Ooh, it smells ready.
You know, whether it's called Kveik or Kveik or Kveik or however they say it, people say it different ways, but it's a yeast that ferments fast and warm.
Yes.
And yet it doesn't give you like a normal yeast, a brewer's yeast, if it were fermenting that hot at 90 degrees or something, would give you all kinds of phenols and different esters and things that you probably wouldn't want in there. Be plasticky and stuff like that. Who knows? Right. But this yeast is one they've found, and certain brewers in America have tried it now. And it's interesting. I don't know if, it may not be the first use in West Virginia, but this is one of the first uses in West Virginia of that kind of yeast. It's a whole new style of yeast.
Definitely.
And it's good to see that Jay Fox down there at the Peddler is brewing with this. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I butted in, and if you want to talk more about what's in this beer.
He does that a lot. I'm kind of used to it. But, back to what we were saying, this definitely was, as he termed it, a very interesting kind of unique beer for them, and a fall release beer. It is on tap. Of course, you can get a crowler, as we did, as they were gracious enough to provide for our tasting, and it's just delicious. It's
Well,
bready
clear.
to me, as far as
Yeah, but it ain't.
very
I guarantee you, it is not a Helles. If you have a Helles lager, if you're thinking of Helles and you Helles lager, this does not taste like a lager, a Helles lager in the hopping or the yeast. That yeast gives it a definite different direction.
It does, and it's there's definitely a lot of malt, though. I feel like I have coming out of that.
There's flavors in it.
There's a lot of flavors.
There is a
It's
lot of
and
flavors.
it's quite different. I
It
mean,
is.
it's not a beer flavor
And
that
I-
I've had before.
Right,
don't
and
think.
as he said, he was trying to make it kind of lager-ish, but he didn't really push that because it's something about brew to bottle in 10 days as part of the process that they went through. But this is interesting.
You're
This
saying
has a good flavor.
it had the Hallertau hops in it.
It does have the Hallertau hops, yes.
but- See, I don't get a lot of that. That's more of the
I-
classic German noble hop flavor that you get in those German lagers, and I don't get that flavor in here.
I don't either.
Or there's a dominant flavor maybe that just bounces that one to the back.
I really think this is the first beer that I've ever had with this yeast that I've actually enjoyed.
Oh,
Right, but you
I-
tried some though.
I have tried several beers from other
other
breweries,
other
that's
non-West Virginia
non-West
breweries.
Virginia breweries, and I love this.
Yeah, this is
Like,
good.
this is really good.
This is good.
That's great. Yeah. All right. So this is, again, the Peddler Brewery in Huntington, West Virginia. It's the home of duck fat fries.
They are amazing. They're amazing. I love them.
I would know.
No, they're down there on 3rd Avenue in Huntington. If you haven't been to the Peddler, get to Huntington and get over there and try some of Jay's beers. I mean, almost everything he makes I love. It's amazing. I didn't know that would happen, but I'm a big fan now. Anyway,
We are.
let's go on. Sorry. Next, beer 2.
Beer 2, we have from Bad Shepherd Beer Company here in Charleston, West Virginia. It is the Big Bend Hammer. It is a very robust Imperial Stout. It's aged for this one 8 months in a smooth Ambler bourbon barrel, which is also a West Virginia business. And it's the name of this beer comes from the Big Bend Tunnel, which is in Hinton, and after John Henry still driving Hammer. It's described as, from brewer Ross Williams, he said one of his longest, stickiest brew days they ever had, which I found quite funny. And it's because they mash in, and this one in particular took 3 mash ins, and he said it was just very sticky and a lot to deal with. And there was about 1,500 pounds worth of grain in total with this big, beautiful Imperial Stout that we have here to try today.
What's the ABV?
I believe it's 13.
I believe it is
right?
13.8, yes.
So it takes a lot of grain to get
It
that
does.
much alcohol out of a beer.
Let's see here.
13.8.
13.8.
Well, that's a big beer. That's bigger
It's a
than
very- and look,
most Imperial stouts are not nearly this high in alcohol, but
No. but I love that it was aged in a bourbon barrel.
and smooth Ambler,
Yeah.
because that's
More
cool.
West Virginia, yeah.
Yeah, a lot
it's
of-
so good.
A lot of use of smooth Ambler barrels because they are supplying other breweries as well in West Virginia.
Delicious.
It's good to see. I think Ed Shepherd has used their barrels before. They have,
Yeah.
I think they have several, or they continue to get the smooth Ambler barrels. That's nice.
I'm told this particular batch, although of course it's been in the market previously, this brick or this style, but this particular batch was bottled in September, so it's very fresh. And this one is one of the ones that I really like because it sneaks up on you a bit because at first when I smell it anyway, it's a bit boozy, but it doesn't taste boozy at all, which is the scary part because you drink it and it's like, wow.
Yeah, I don't find this one nearly as bourbon forward as some
I don't.
bourbon
do.
barrel stouts.
I do a little bit, but I think I'm more sensitive to the bourbon notes and flavors and things. But that's just me.
Mhm.
Everybody's palate's different.
Of course,
So,
That's
sure.
true.
Yeah, well, the Big Ben Hammer from Bad Shepherd Brewing Company in Charleston, West Virginia. Come down. There's all kinds of good stuff to drink
Yeah.
and eat there.
Okay, the additional beers that you can get at Bad Shepherd, they're normally known for the Lab, which is an IPA. And also right now they have on Electric Petting Zoo, which is one of my probably favorite IPAs now. And Keep On Keeping On.
All good IPAs, which Anyone who knows me knows I'm like an IPA lover. I do like other styles, but they are my favorite.
Yeah, Bad Shepherd's a brewery known to put out tons of small batch beers. I mean, they probably, maybe them and the Abolitionists are the two that make more different beers in the course of a year releasing. And some of them are coming back from the one they brewed before last year, but they just brew and brew and brew, and they hit some of them really well. These are some that, like you say, these IPAs that's nice to see.
They do. So next we have Freefolk, the Freefolk Brewery out of Fayetteville, West Virginia, has provided the Ravencliff milk stout that they have coming out. It's not actually going to be available until about 3 weeks from now, so it'll be mid-November, maybe the first week of November. They made a batch at the brewery and then sold out immediately. So they're trying to brew more as we speak. And this one is great. It's a creamy lactose stout, and which is great for cooler weather, of course. It's richly malted with chocolate roasted barley and oats. It's coming in at 4.6 ABV. And this in particular batch has 10 pounds of flaked oats and 10 pounds of milk sugar. So let's see what we think.
Yeah.
Ooh, that smells.
The aroma is amazing.
It is. Is that coffee for you?
That's what it is for me.
Oh, it's very good.
I get chocolate myself.
I get chocolate in addition to the coffee.
Yeah, but that's a signature of a milk stout.
It is.
And
it is.
You know, it's yeah, and they shouldn't be high ABV. They ought to be very low ABV, and they ought to be extremely drinkable.
Creamy, very creamy,
and very mouth filling.
Well, the mouth feels great. It's not thin, which a lot of times I think you can get anyway with milk stout. At least
shouldn't.
Right.
A good one wouldn't, but this one is good.
Yeah, this one is delicious.
Yeah.
Smells great. It finishes clean. It's got great flavor.
Yeah.
Hits all the senses.
Good.
Yeah.
You know, they're a brewery that's a couple years old now, maybe.
If that,
a little less than that, probably.
Very new. Very new.
Into their second year, I guess you want to say. Yeah. But yeah, they down in Fayetteville get a lot of traffic through there. Not only West Virginians, but a lot of out-of-state people come down there, and I think it's a great market for West Virginia craft beer. Freefolk has a really cool. You guys have been in there in their tap room. Yeah, their tap room, like they has Jamie Lester, one of the owners, co-owners. It has his art. He's an artist, and he has all that art on the wall. He paints
everywhere. And it's very intriguing.
So it's worth it just stopping to look around.
And they have a nice patio.
Yeah,
they have a very, very nice patio.
Nice outdoor area.
Food truck. They've almost always got some kind of a food truck and a bonfire.
They have like their own kitchen, and they do a lot of tacos.
They do.
So.
And even though they're a fairly new brewery in the state, they make a lot of different kinds of beers. They've come out with a series of beer after beer.
They've got the Wildlife series.
Wildlife. With the labels
really
on the bottom.
Great. Yeah,
those
really
cool
great
labels.
Yes.
What all they have?
The big-eared bat is one that's about to come out. Is that the new one?
The big-eared bat?
Yeah, cool. Which is an amazing label and just all around well done. I'm sure if you haven't, we did a recent piece on labels and can art, and it's just cool. It's very intriguing to me, especially from the artist's perspective, and fun to watch. Yeah,
they're making I don't know how big are those bottles? They're larger bottles. They're not like a 12-ounce bottle. They're either 16s or
they're the size of the
500s.
Yep.
I think they're 500.
Yeah, so they have a lot of label space, more than a 12-ounce bottle. And when they make those,
you get a lot of detail.
Yeah, when they put the Wildlife series, I mean, they use a full, like it's the size of a 16-ounce can wrap, but it's on a bottle.
Yes.
So it's a nice size palette for the artist to put all those beautiful big-eared bat drawings on it.
And I could definitely see myself drinking this, especially around the fire as they have at the brewery. This would be great.
It's actually like really nice right now, like where it's raining. And
it's like perfect.
Yeah, it's just like it's perfect temp for this right now. Like it's great.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's delicious. Get it when they have it on draft in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I also saw that they've come out with their Trucker Speed IPA, which is their standard IPA, but they've now got it in cans.
They do.
Oh,
That's
really?
brand new.
They do.
I had no idea they were canning.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure.
4 packs. They have 4 packs.
If they're doing little small batch cans, I don't even know. But it's come out. They said they had it in cans, and you can get it at the brewery in cans.
And I assume it's the taller can since it's 4-pack, the 16 ounce.
16 ounce. Yeah, it was 16 ounce. And then they, a little late to the game maybe, but they still have their, and just recently released their Folktoberfest.
Oh, yes, right. Which we originally thought we might get a sample for, but we were trying to just focus on one beer for each brewery that we were sampling this evening. But I have heard good things about it. It looks great. I don't have a lot of detail, but it sounds like it would be a great, obviously, fall beer to try. So.
Yeah,
I haven't tried it yet.
I haven't gotten to either.
it's an amber colored beer, and I haven't tried it either, but I know that it is out now and probably in distribution, but at least it's available in Fayetteville, I'm sure.
It is. All right, so
Ready for the last one?
we have a last beer coming up, and it is a very new release from Big Timber. It is called Cake Smash.
Cake Smash. It's a German chocolate cake Imperial Stout. Now, if you can get all that in there, German chocolate cake, you know, it's got the caramelly coconut icing. So
Right,
you got to figure there's got to be caramel, there's got to be coconut in here as well as the chocolate. So it ought to be all three.
Oh my! Lots of chocolate.
The can.
Oh, lots of coconut.
The can.
Oh my God, yes, the coconut.
Mhm.
That's
Sorry, my lips are a little chapped. In case I've been chewing my lip all night, that's why. Oh wow! Tons of coconut and
this
chocolate.
is like fabulous.
Yeah, this is like
is great.
dessert beer. Dessert beer.
Yeah. Yeah, well, usually they are.
Oh wow!
Oh my God.
Mm.
Like
my
I'm
God.
not gonna lie, like
That
I
is a
wanna-
liquid cake.
That is a liquid cake.
I
Like,
want a lot of
beginning
this.
to end. It really, it's like taking a bite of cake, chewing it up, and swallowing it. I mean, it's exactly that. It smells exactly like it's supposed to. All kinds of coconut, all kinds of chocolate.
And what was the ABV on that? 13?
Was it-
No,
yes.
it was 13. I was
This
going
is-
to say
That's
less.
why I was
This
like,
is-
Wow.
this is not like
Yeah.
I don't feel like
This
it's
would
a
be-
13% beer.
This is
Like,
another not boozy beer that
Yeah.
you know we
It's
like
not
a
boozy.
lot.
Yeah.
Because it really isn't boozy. There's no.
No, there's
It's like this is a piece of cake in a glass just for your enjoyment after dinner. Perfect once you sink on the couch when your stomach's full and your eyes kind of wander off because you're dozing. This is that beer that will do that to you.
like no alcohol whatsoever in this. Like, where did they hide it?
Yeah.
Like, where did you
I
hide it?
want to know how
Where
any
did you
brewer
put that
does
in there?
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Like
It is a dessert beer. You know, these are beers for sharing because they're fun. Like we're having fun sharing that beer, and yeah, that's what I would do if I were, you know, if I had the option that I'd be sharing this beer with somebody I love.
yeah, this is very much as described, and it's like a piece of cake. So skip the cake, get the dessert.
Don't even eat dessert. Just get the beer. Like, don't even eat.
Oh, these tastings are fun,
They are always.
and we got to
fun.
do this again,
And
guys.
we do have to do this.
I would
again.
just like to say thank you both for inviting me today. Like,
we
I
appreciate your
very enjoyed doing this.
Good.
Well, I appreciate your palate that you've added to our tasting exercise, especially,
Absolutely.
and the questions you asked from the pallet
The pallet
bar.
bars,
Get it
yeah.
out here. I'm lost. The
Listen,
pallet bar.
We know about those food trucks. So I just got to say, love Ben, what he's doing with the food trucks.
Yeah, and that's a good change up for them, especially
Yeah.
because they don't have any kind of outdoor seating at the moment.
Yes.
Although he did say that there are plans, so we'll see what happens. But maybe we'll talk about that at our next tasting,
Yeah,
or whatever beer news
we'll do it.
is up and coming. So
And I hate to close on a sad note, but I do need to mention that the passing of Scott Spencer, who was the proprietor at Top Salt Barbershop in Charleston. And Scott was such a community-spirited guy. I mean, Lynette,
he was amazing.
yeah, and tell what he's done for our craft beer club.
He was the one that the ABC got strict when we couldn't really go and have our tastings anymore in restaurants and other bars that we would go to. Scott welcomed us with open arms. So we came, like we always did with our monthly tastings. He'd come in after hours and let us come in and have our tastings. He's done so much for the community, and just is such an amazing individual. So
Yeah, it's really sad to
Big
see
loss.
that.
Big
And,
loss.
so we pass along our condolences from West Virginia Beer Roads and praise and all to his family, and just so sorry to see this happen. Guys, thanks again for another successful episode of West Virginia Beer Roads. And Aaron, you want to close anything up there?
So cheers from all of us at West Virginia Beer Roads.
Yeah, bringing
Cheers.
lots of information about West Virginia beers from Aaron McCoy's back porch in the rain.
In the
rain, but we are covered. We have a road.
We do.
Thanks.
Thank you.
This brings us to the close of another podcast. Remember, you can subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast host. Thank you for listening to West Virginia Beer Roads.
West Virginia Beer Roads is a production of BrilliantStream.com.